Thanks for downloading this episode of the Nerdball Podcast. I am your host, Lorenzo Melcher, back at it again in my basement as usual. Although I did get a comment on how the guest today, liked my background. So that was not in the podcast. That was before the podcast. But anyway, I am here, living it up, doing the podcast. Thanks for all of you for always liking, sharing, subscribing, downloading this thing. Find us on any social media, search the Nerdball Podcast. I don't know if you're going to be seeing this video portion of it because my video has been messing up lately and I have not figured out why. So it may just be audio only this week. And that's why TikToks haven't been coming out either. It's not that I don't do them. It's for some reason the video and audio are not matching up. So, but anyway, keep watching, keep subscribing, keep doing all that. If you want to be on the podcast, hit us up at thenerdballpodcast@gmail.com. I will get you on. So this guest is someone I just met a couple weeks ago, handed him a business card and said, why don't you come on my podcast? And he did just that. So thanks again. Thanks to all of you. Hope you enjoy the episode.
Hey, my name's Ed McCarthy, and this is the Nerdball Podcast.
This is the Nerdball Podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
All right, Ed, thanks for coming on my podcast today. Bright and early on a Sunday. I was going to make some joke about it being St. Patrick's Day, but I figure you've gotten that your entire life. So
yeah, I've already gotten people sending me clovers, and yeah, I'm Irish.
Yeah.
So I've already got those texts.
All right. Did your friends, so I went to college for a little bit until they told me not to come back because I wasn't going to classes. Yeah. But I know my friends, whenever we were around together or we lived in BG on Cinco de Mayo, they wanted me to live my best life ever. Is that how St. Patrick's Day is for you?
No, I can't remember anything like that. I think I've just known a ton of Irish people, but yeah, for you being a little bit more of a minority, I can see them. Today's your day, buddy. Yeah.
They're just like
your day.
Or whenever we would go out to the bar, I don't care what time of year it is. Here, one shot tequila. I'm like, I don't like tequila.
Yeah. What do you think of the landscaping out front of the bar? That looks great.
Yeah, man.
What do you think? Did you do that? Yeah. Only because I know your comedy. I'm not instantly racist like that.
No, you're good.
I've heard your I don't just go But no,
that is a wild take if we just first met.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I said to you was I was like, tall Mexican?
Dude,
and
I
you
loved
said
it.
Yes.
I loved it.
Well, because we heard 30. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we heard 32 comics, and but I also remember in my head I was like, oh, tall Mexican. Whatever round you were out, I was like, oh, I wanted him to go. So then when he came up to me, I was like,
That was the very first round. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about, it was the Crumbly Cup. It was 32 comics do a minute each round, and then they get voted on by 3 judges. That was my first time doing it. I've known Dave for a while, but that was it's cool. And what he's doing there at Ernest and with his shows and stuff is pretty neat too. Like he's doing it's pretty sweet. And he has some big things that he's doing now with the Crumbly Cup that might move venues, and I'll let him talk about that at some point. But it's cool, and it was a lot of fun. It was packed. Even though I got knocked out in the first round, my parents and my sister and some other family were there. They had a lot of fun too. So it was a cool night.
Yeah. I thought your set was great. And I was shy. No offense to whoever beat you. I don't know. I was like, dang, I really thought you were supposed to move on that first round. And it was like the most fun night as a comedy fan, even not even as a comic. It was like, I was like, this is the coolest thing. You're getting the best. You're getting 64 solid minutes, right? Oh, I think altogether it ends up, because it goes 32, 16, 8, 4, and such a fun night. But I don't know who it was.
Yeah, it was cool. And you got second. So that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was exciting.
And it was cool because that was the first time I met you that night. And then we saw each other again over at Joe at the Casual Pint, and you're like, I'm gonna try all this new stuff, and all that new stuff was sweet too. I was like, man, this is good shit.
Thank you, man. I thank you. I appreciate that. I listened to it for the first time last night. it always takes me such a long time to listen to it because do you listen to your stuff? It's the hardest thing in the world.
Mm,
And
yeah.
you're like, I think it went okay. And then you listen to it and you flub a couple lines and you're like, I shouldn't even live, you know? I don't deserve
You're
to
right.
be on earth. There's nothing more. I mean, I'm new to all this, but I know that that's part of the thing is you got to listen to your sets.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but no, I appreciate you saying that. I feel like, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
yeah, my wife was there at Casual Pint, and I messed up my
nice.
very first joke, and she was like, uh, she goes, "You did a good job." I go, "Yeah, but I fucked up the very first line." She goes, "Ah, that's all right." I was like, "Yeah, but
Yeah.
it gets you nervous right away." Then like, oh my god, I just messed up this joke I've been telling for years, and I messed it up and whatever,
Yeah.
and you know, it
Yeah.
makes it also open mics because I used to do just give you some of my background. I did comedy probably off and on for about 4 years, and then I stopped for about 5 years. Like I
Oh,
didn't do anything, and then I recently started back into it. My brother-in-law, Jake Paluski, he runs it's called the Levi and Lilac, the Listening Loft,
yeah.
in Maumee, and he produces a bunch of music shows. And then we got together and did a comedy show. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna do 5 minutes. I haven't done it in a while, and it was a lot of fun. So I started doing it. So it's been about a year where I've been doing a little bit more, but I haven't done an open
Yeah.
mic. I haven't done an open mic in a while, and I told
Oh,
I told my wife, I go, man, I now I remember. Like I appreciate audiences who know a comedy show is coming because they are ready to laugh and ready to be a part of
yeah.
it, and like if they're more open to it, and this is
Yeah.
just that's how open mics are, though, man. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I mean, you had a solid set at the Casual Pint, and also by the time you went up, people had finally started to pay attention.
Yeah,
We had never done that setup before or Joe had never done that setup
that's what
before
Joe
at the
said.
Casual
Yeah,
Pint. Yeah, we're usually in the back room, so it's like the hard part is the other comics aren't listening to you, which I don't know. In my head, I'm like, always, I want the other comics to hear so they can be like, hey, tag, whatever, like
mm-hmm.
give some input. But when you're in that little room, it only fits like 30, but at least they chose to come into this room where there's comedy.
Yeah,
Instead, you grab a mic, they're watching the basketball game behind you, and you're like, it's weird. But no, I think after a few comics, then people at the
for
Casual
sure.
Pint kind of understood, like, hey, let's all face that way. And, these people want attention, let's give it to them or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And
yeah,
that's
but
what, yeah. Some rooms too. Some rooms, depending, or some restaurants or bars will turn TVs off or music or that kind of stuff. But it's their place of business. It's they'll do what they want to do, and they're just letting people tell jokes.
it ended up being a solid night though. And
Yeah.
it's true with an open mic. If somebody chuckles at a joke at an open mic, that joke's gonna kill at a real thing.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of the Crumbly Cup. I was like, yeah, because all I had done is I did a showcase show my first time ever up in Michigan. Like I did like a comedy class, right? Because I'm like, I don't have the courage to go on
Oh,
stage. I need someone to force me out. So I paid $200, did a comedy class, and then you get a showcase night, which is like a show.
yeah.
And then everything I've done since then has been open mics where you're like,
Mm,
I'm not funny and I'm the worst person on earth. And then Crumbly Cup, like I was like, yo, these people are maybe a little too hammered, some of them, but it was like, oh my God, they all showed up for comedy and it was so fun.
yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's laughter. I love laughter. That's great. You know?
But that's why you do it, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
you can only make
yeah.
your wife and your children laugh at you so much,
Oh
and
yeah, that ship sailed so long ago. I'd have to jump off the roof at this point to get a smile.
I still get my son because my son is we're very similar in the sense of humor, so I can say something stupid or whatever, and his laugh, like when I get him really good, it's really audible. But he does he smiles really big, and he does the like exhale out of
Yeah.
the nose that you could hear, and
Ooh.
I was like, "Ooh, I got you." So
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we
yeah.
still, I can still get him, but it's because we're very similar, so it's
How
easy pickings.
yeah. How old are
My
your
son's
kids?
12, and I got a daughter who's
Yeah.
9. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, I've got 10 and 7. Daughter 10, son
Oh,
7. So same life.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
dude. It's that was most of my comedy when I started. When I was into it for about 4 years, it was all kid based because that's all I knew, and parenting, and
Yeah.
and so the open mics I would go to are like these comics who are 20, who don't have kids and don't understand it, or we're in a like I never go down to BG because it's just college students, and all I
Yeah.
had at the time was parenting material, so I never went down. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's it's not going to be fun for me, like if I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But if it's funny, if it's funny, it's funny.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know Roberto that well, but he's someone I've been meeting through these, and he might have gone up maybe before or after you, but he's just all a lot of just parenting stuff, and
mm-hmm.
it crushed. And it's like, I think if it's funny, it's funny. But same thing,
Sure.
I every week since I started comedy, whatever, I always think I got to get down to BG. One, it's like late, and I'm an
Yeah,
adult with
yeah,
whatever, but also I'm just like, what if it's all these college kids, that are like talk about beer, and I'm like, kids are crazy, and it doesn't. But it seems great. I mean, I don't want to,
no,
because I
no,
know
yeah,
like Victor posts that. Like I always get jealous when they're like, "Oh, it was a packed night." I'm like, "God, that's another night I didn't drive down to BG," and because there's only so many opportunities.
mm-hmm.
And I know that like I'm trying to do this at least 4 times a month, but
Yeah,
in a city like Toledo, it's a little tougher.
yeah. Well, you're right. If it's funny, people are gonna laugh about it. It was just me in my head. Like I just, I know, even though I lived in BG for like 3 years, like I'm well aware of BG and what's there,
Yeah,
and even that bar, Grumpy Dave's. Like I spent a lot of time in that bar with my friends because I don't know if you know anything about that bar, but they at the time, I'm assuming they still do. They have a wall of foam where because they have so many beers there. If you have at least one beer of every one they have, you get your like picture on the wall, and you get a giant mug. And my buddy did that over the
yeah.
course of 4 years. Like was able to drink every beer that they have there. So
Wow.
I spent a lot of time there, and it's a cool spot. I
Yeah.
just at some point I'll go down there. But again, you're right. The lateness plays a factor. Like if I have to take a vacation day because I'm doing a comedy night, the night
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like something happened where once your kids, like now that I'm out of the baby phase, I mean, I used to be such a night owl, and now like I can fall asleep at 8:45 right now
Oh
if I
yeah.
had to, because when your kids get to an age where like they'll, bedtime is still like a go to bed. It's like still kind of a battle sometimes. But
Oh yeah.
if I want to, I can fall asleep at 8:45. That wasn't an option for 5, 6, 7 years of your life. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's like when they're like, yeah, it doesn't get started till 10 p.m. and you're like, what? Is that
And then it's
legal?
late.
Yeah, it's and then you're tired the next day. I
Yeah.
teach, so I'm up pretty early.
I was
Are
asking
you?
what time
Are
you get up.
Yeah, like 6.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
that's a lie. I'm trying to sound better than I am. 6:40. I literally roll out of bed and then just start teaching. I like don't. I'm a night shower, so
Oh, I'm a night shower too. Yeah, I get up.
yeah,
I usually get up about 6:15. Uh, enough time to throw my contacts in, get my clothes on, and then say my son's up usually by the time I leave, so I'll talk to him for a
yeah,
little bit, and I'm
yeah,
out. I work for the for Toledo Metroparks, so
yeah,
I'm a supervisor there. So I get up and my staff gets in at 6. I get in at 7, and then
yeah. Oh,
figure out the rest of it. So
so yeah, you get it. You've got an early job too. A lot of people work at 8:39 and stuff like
mm-hmm.
that, but like
I
they have breakfast and no.
no, I never eat breakfast. I just
Yep.
I don't have time for it, and I don't know about because I'll eat it on the weekends, and then like I don't want to do anything for an hour, and just I guess I can. There's always a happy medium where you can just have a light breakfast and not
Yeah.
feel like shit.
Yeah. Breakfast was so important when we were growing up, and then now it's all about fasting. I've been doing that for 2 years. Like,
Okay,
don't eat till noon or
yeah,
something, just to but it'll change. The science will change and all that. But yeah, it was everything. But I'm like, people would talk about breakfast, and I'm like, I never ever eat breakfast because who
mm-hmm.
has time for it? And I'm fine. I feel pretty
Yeah.
pretty healthy. But yeah, do you like your job?
Oh, I
That
love
sounds like
it. I
I was
love
gonna
it.
say that.
Yeah, it's fun. I work for Glass City Metro Park, the brand new one
Yep.
downtown on the east
Hmm.
side, and I love it. It's so much fun. I mean, I get to work in a park, which is cool. I don't always get outside because being a supervisor, I'm inside in meetings or answering emails, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it's fun. I've been there almost 4 years, and yeah, it's cool. And because like all the stuff we're doing along the river, like it's more exciting because that's all pertains to me. So
Yeah.
that's cool too because we're transforming the riverside and making a huge river walk. I don't know if you know anything about what's going on down there, but it's on both sides of the river, 2.5 miles on both sides of the river. It's going to be a river walk with parks and that
Cool.
kind of stuff. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
I
it's exciting.
saw ice skating. Don't you guys have
Yeah,
that
we do that.
there?
That's at the park that I run. Yep. We
Yeah.
that's a lot of fun. It's a lot of stress too because uh there's a whole building just dedicated to maintaining ice, building and maintaining ice. And like if something goes wrong in there or something shuts down because it's low on oil or there's so much stuff that can go wrong. And then when it does, if it's a warm day, it's
Yeah.
you're in trouble. So it's a little stressful,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah. The ice seems difficult. So how long will you guys be ice
so
skating? Because my
so
kids just got into it.
so we start in November and go all the way until March. So this
Oh,
year we
so
went to March 3rd.
so it's over. Got it.
Yeah.
That
But
makes sense.
yeah, it's super popular. We had 50,000 people skate this season, which is pretty sweet. This is our first full season. Last year we did like a 6-week trial just to see how it would go,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
That's great.
Yeah,
People love it. That's awesome.
yeah, and that's cool. I like seeing. I do read Facebook comments just because I'm a terrible person apparently, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I do like to read like all the comments people make. It's always about security and safety and that kind of stuff. And those people
Oh, yeah.
usually live in the suburbs and don't even live in Toledo. So,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but, man.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
I we got into comedy real quick. I didn't even get
Oh,
to ask
sorry.
you the no. I it's fun. Trust me. If I have similar likes with people, like obviously that makes the conversation a lot better. So I'm cool with it. But I do want to find out. But the question I always ask everyone is what is something you've been nerding out about, something you're really into, a hobby, something you've been doing for forever, something you just got into. I don't know, maybe it is comedy, but just
Yeah.
something that you kind of do to get away from your daily
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. So I probably have no bigger obsession than comedy, but I have a ton of close seconds. I guess I would say music. I've always like in high school, I was in a band and I was like all about punk rock and
I
emo,
say,
pop punk. Like,
wait, did you say emo?
oh yeah,
I
like
love that's my favorite music. I
is
love
it
emo. Oh yeah,
Brandon?
Dashboard Confessional, Take It Back Sunday is my
Like,
favorite band ever.
there you go.
Tell All Your Friends is my favorite album.
Oh
So
my gosh, yeah.
I
You're
love all
like,
that.
I know. I literally would hear that album and I'm like, I hope my girlfriend cheats on me, and then she did. I want something to write about. Brand new.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's like to me the best lyricist
Okay.
of all time. And
That.
then he got in trouble. He got me too'd.
Oh, did he?
I found out about him and Louis C.K. on the same day.
Oh
That
no
was like
shit.
at the height of the yeah, they were both, and you're like, guys are doing this, like, like
That's crazy.
guys are like weird, like you just don't think. But yeah, dude, I mean, emo like Warp Tour every year for like 5 or 6 years straight.
Oh,
Yeah, all that, And now wait, so I'm 35. 35.
I'm
Are you
39.
okay? So
Yeah.
yeah, so early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I was in a band and we would do battle of the bands. Like where I'm from, like a big suburb of Cleveland, Strongsville.
Yep.
I'm from
Yep.
out there, and I mean, when I was in high school, there were probably like 20 bands. Like that was huge. Like everybody was in a band. A lot of them were more like metal, screamo, and we were writing more like poppy stuff. But and then just ever since then, always done music to the point where like me and three other guys that I teach with, they're all math teachers just in my hallway. We have like we'll like kind of get together and like learn a bunch of songs, and like we've been like writing songs. It's just fun. Like
Oh,
music's always just been a thing. Like yeah, just a huge hobby. I've like very few days have gone by where I haven't like just picked up a guitar and like strummed like ever since I was 16. So
that there
yeah,
was as I got older and paid attention to the lyrics, like it made me like them more because I as a when I started listening to Take It Back Sunday, I was probably 16 or 17, and I'm like,
yep,
all right, these are cool. I memorized them all, and but as you get older, like man, these are like really good. And
yeah,
one thing I'm terrible at is song names. Like especially Taking Back Sunday because theirs have nothing to do with the
yeah, yeah,
lyrics,
yeah.
but I really liked it. And there was one TikTok guy, he's like he was talking about music and emo. He was saying something about the most emo lyric of all time. Uh
Yep,
and
yep.
what do you think it is?
Can I predict?
Go for it. Let's see.
Is it Taking Back Sunday?
It is Taking Back Sunday.
I don't want to interrupt you.
No, it's I did this to my buddy too, and he knew it. He messed it up by word, but it was uh you could how'd it go? You could slip my wrist, and with my last dying breath, I would apologize for bleeding on your shirt. And I was like, yes,
That's so funny, dude. I tell my students that line. Like, I'm like, you're not emo if you don't know the truth. Is you could slit my throat, and
yeah.
with my one last gasping breath, I'd apologize for bleeding on your shirt.
Yeah.
That, and at the time, you're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude. That's so crazy that I'm not a TikToker, so I don't want you to think like, yeah, I saw this yesterday. That's why I know. Like, that's so funny that you could say the most emo line ever, and I go, yep, I know exactly what. It's the second verse of the sixth track of the Tell All Your Friends album. You know what I mean? Seventh track?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't even know the name of
Ooh.
that song. Like I don't know song names.
Oh yeah, that one's tough. She said, "Don't let it go to you."
Dude,
What's the name of it? Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's tough.
I'll find it.
It's not cute without the E because that's the your lip. It's
let's see.
2002.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Tell me
7
what
is
it starts.
Timberwolves at New Jersey.
Oh, then I'm wrong. Then maybe it's 8 because I feel like it's later. It's a hit, but it's later.
Let's see. Yeah, Blue Channel. It's 8. Is this
Blue
one, right?
Blue Channel was more of a. Yeah, it's coming up. It's after this one.
You're so last summer.
You're so last summer.
Yeah,
gosh, how are we supposed to remember? Fall Out Boy took it to the next level, where they're like, "Our agent made us change the lyrics." You know, like that's track 1. That's insane.
You know, there was Fall Out Boy. Fall Out Boy. Now I'm trying to see because I will know there's one thing I really like about emo music is the like a lot of them are like I like screaming, that's cool, I like but when bands like The Used are a lot of screaming and then they have like a ballad where there's no screaming, I like those songs too. I think maybe that's why I like Dashboard so much because isn't a lot of like screaming and stuff.
Yeah, it's there. He has a great voice. Yeah, and that stuff was so emo, and it's fun. Like everybody makes fun of emo, like people didn't even say the word back then,
No.
But now it's like I have, I teach high schoolers. Everybody knows like the word emo, and they all wear like My Chemical Romance shirts and stuff. And it's like, and it's also fun to make fun of them. Like I don't think you understand how sick. Like I don't know. Like just the lyrics, the emotion of it all, it was great. It wasn't, I think people think like, I hate my dad. Like they think that's, and it's like, that's not what it was. It was just like, just the best. I don't know. I was always and as someone who was trying to write music in high school, everything that came out of me was like more like the Ataris, like pop punk, like pretty simple. I can never write. Yeah, you really appreciate lyricists. I still to this day, I'm like, how do they, the quantity that they're able to come up with, like it's hard to not just write like the memories faded and I feel jaded, and it's hard to not. Same with comedy. It's like really easy to be like, my wife is dumb, like how do you actually be funny rather than just do what 98% of people could do. It's, I don't know, I've always loved it. That was my first obsession, was music. I saw my friend play When I Come Around on guitar when I was 14, and I was like, he's going to be famous and I need a guitar now. And then I bought one for $100 with an amp, and then that's. So do you play?
I don't, and I liked the thought of being in a band. Like it was fun, and even when my buddies in high school, I would be like there just so I could be on stage. Maybe that was part of me, the start of me being on stage, but I would be like their bouncer or whatever, and I would like be up there. And I think I remember one show, there's this place, it was a real tiny place that where a bunch of high school bands always played. It was called Luke's Barn, and the we used to go there, and I would be on stage. I had a white button down with the sleeves cut off and sunglasses, and I would just stand on there. And one time, it was the best. I think about it now, and it was one of the best days of my life when I was, especially then. My buddy had this band. They were called Jane Harvard. They only put out like 6 songs. They weren't together very long, as most high school bands are bouncing around. Um, and I knew all the songs, all the words to every song they had, and I was up there, and my buddy turned to me and goes, "Hey, you can sing this one." And I'm like, "What?" And I sang my heart out, and it was
Yes.
so fun, dude. So fun.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
That's
If there's
awesome.
if there's one thing I like about being in the band is singing, even though I'm not very good. But don't tell my shower that. Like
Oh
I'm
yeah,
all
yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Singing's one of those things where you just have to go for it.
Yeah.
You just have to go for it. Like we tried out singers, and then after we tried out a few, I was just like, all right, guys, I'll just do it. And I just sang out of my nose for a long time, and then I did the church stuff for 10 years and was a worship leader, and then I kind of learned a
Oh,
little more how to like not sound like an idiot. But I've known some crazy singers where it's like, all right, you're like you can sing, like when you see someone who can like actually sing, and it's like a magic trick,
yeah.
but it's like there's a lot when it's punk rock or whatever genre your friends are doing. It's like if you've got the energy, man, you can pull it off. If
Dude,
you
my
got the
yeah.
confidence, you can grab that mic and do it.
My brother-in law, the one that produces the show, he's also been doing music for forever, and he plays piano, and he's a really good singer. And we used to go to karaoke nights before COVID, and now we've gone a couple times, but since COVID, it's just more gross to me. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
so he sang. We used to make him like sing like really hard songs because he's a good singer. So
Mhm.
he sang 30 Seconds to Mars, The Kill,
Oh,
and
yeah.
murdered it, dude.
No way.
Murdered it.
Is
And
that
at the time, he had long brown hair, the beard looked like Jared Leto, and just oh, dude, it was so good, so good,
that break me down? Is
dude.
that one?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's falsetto. That's fake. No, yeah, that's a song we've put on like our playlist for me and my friends of like potential. We have a playlist called like we should learn these songs.
Yeah.
And then I put that one on there, and then we're like, nah, dude, none of us could come close to the Come Break. Yeah, I don't know anything else of theirs besides that, but that's cool.
Mm.
I can't oh yeah, I can't belt that. I can fake it.
I
Can
think
do it.
that's why I
That's
like
awesome.
those ballads so much too, because I always feel like I call them ballads. I don't know. I could be just being an
Yeah.
idiot, but because the range doesn't change as much in those songs,
Yeah.
and I think that's why I like it. Like I was just looking for one, and I found it. I don't know if you know the band Say Anything.
Yep.
So that was one of my favorite bands too. And again, their album is full of weird. I think their album's full of weird song titles as well. And but they have one on there, and it's towards I want to say it's towards the end of the album. I don't know for sure, but a slow one where I love it. Let's see, I'm trying to look for it right now. Gosh, I don't know. I'd have to click through it. I'd have to find them. Anyway, it's another one that I really like, but their song titles, like one is Yellow Cat / Red Cat, Spider Song. Uh, so
Yeah.
there's I really like that one too. But yeah, just seeing like you're right, seeing someone like sing like who's really good at it is just I don't know. You're right. I think you said it right when you said it's a magic trick because it is
Oh
weird.
yeah. Especially being involved with church stuff for so long. Like you meet yeah, I've just met some of the greatest musicians ever, and I feel like especially with church, I feel like when you're doing something a couple times a week,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you just, you get all these people who could be like, what key are we in? And the harmonies and everything, whatever instrument they're playing. And like someone I played drums with, Ashley, like she's in a really popular band, right? At Pop's Garage. Like they play all the places until everywhere, and they do like top 40 songs. And they're playing, Shut Up and Dance with Me and all that stuff. And they're so good. Like I just see these people now doing music. But anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
it's I've
What's the
never
name? What's the
unlocked
name
that.
of your math teacher band?
We call ourselves Flight Clearance. We had to come up with a name a couple weeks ago because we did a battle of the bands with the students.
Oh, okay.
The
Flight.
students couldn't put. There were no bands in the school though. That's what was said. So it was us, the teachers, and then this band of kids who went to Whitmer High a few years ago. Now they're 20 somethings. So it was just two bands. But no, we say Flight Clearance because anytime we go, hey, do you guys want to get together and jam? And we all say like, well, I gotta get flight clearance first from the wife. And so we're like, let's just call ourselves flight
That's
clearance.
perfect.
Yeah.
I had a joke. I had a joke in that if I would have made it further where I said something like that, like I think it was something like my buddies always make fun of me because they say I have to ask for permission. I was like, I don't have to ask, kind of. I mean, the reason I'm standing here is because she said yes. So I guess like that is a lot of it is like, hey, do you mind if I do this thing? Whatever.
Yeah.
And I think what some guys don't get is, most wives do that too to their husbands. Like, hey, I'm gonna go hang out with my buddies. With my friends, do you mind if we go out? Yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah. I've been asking for more stuff lately than ever because now that these like open mics and stuff come up, and she has her work schedule and stuff, and it'll be like, I'll just be like, hey, next Wednesday and I just kind of trench warfare. I just kind of like, hey, next Wednesday there's a thing, and then I hide, and then she's like, I guess I can come home from work early or whatever. But like with a lot of them, I just like on Tuesday I showed up late, and that's just gonna be my life. But yeah, asking the wife permission.
Does she ever? Has she gone to open mics with you?
No, just because like what would we do with the kids? And honestly,
I was gonna ask if you had family around here.
I mean, I still haven't like it took me so long just to tell other people I had done comedy. I did it in November. That was my showcase set. And then it took 2 months before I told another human being that, that I'd done. I like posted it on Facebook, and that's when I was like, literally me coming out like, hey, I tried comedy. That's what kept me from doing it for my whole life was fear. Like, is there anything, we still experience it. Is there anything worse than saying something that you're like, dude, this is funny, and then they don't laugh, and you're like, whoa. So, it took me a long time, really a long time to get into it, out of fear, and then like, I think I have one friend coming to something in a couple weeks, and I'm nervous about that. I don't care about strangers, but it's like if I know you and you don't laugh, now it's the next level, stuff. You don't, and I don't know.
No, I get it. I think the first time I did it, the Funny Bone used to have an open mic, so I went there. So I got to be like on an actual stage, and that was cool. And those jokes are gone for forever. I think my wife was pregnant with our daughter at the time, and now she's 9. So that was so long ago. And I think I made a joke about her, like something about the word due or due date or something, and something about it made it sound like a package or something. I can't remember what it was, but something so stupid. And now you think like, okay, now I'm debating whether or not how do I start, where do I put this word? Is it in front of this word or this word? And like how to write is all different. And but it is terrifying, especially when you're like, hey, you want to come watch me do this thing? And I'm pretty good at it now with some of my jokes, and I invite people, and I'm still nervous about it, like because I see these, like I invite work people, and I see these people every day, and now it's like, all right, well, I hopefully I do well, because they'll just give me shit about
it.
Which is good cool. Too sometimes.
I got to get there where I'm more open about it, and hey, come to this, because that's, I don't know, I really struggle to get, because it's like, I feel like it's inviting someone to the gym. It's like until I'm, again, whenever it is, doing like a show, like an actual big show or whatever, it's like everything else to me just feels like practice. Like I'm just always trying to work, try out new stuff. And then if it's a show, then, so I just know an open mic's never going to be killer, but
that's when invite people. I invite people to shows. I won't invite them to open mics. My wife comes often just because our kids are older and we have family in town. But other than that, no.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Yeah.
I want them to experience a show because it'll make them come back to, like, maybe they've never seen a comedy show, and maybe it gets them into comedy, or maybe when I'm on another show, they'll come without even asking because they saw it somewhere posted or whatever. So like, I like people to experience it because it is fun. Like as much as they have fun in the crowd, they don't understand how, like, we have way more fun on stage, like hearing those laughters. And a lot of times when you tell a joke and you laugh, I know for me, like when I laugh about something that they're laughing about, I'm like, all right, it's like excited laugh, like, oh, they love it, or they liked it, or they got it, or whatever,
especially when it's a more there's some things you write where you're like, oh, that's such a good analogy or line, where you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure that'll work. But when it's a subtle thing and it works, which is half of my stuff. Like that's such a good feeling because you're like, I think I'm wording this right where it's funny, and then
Yeah.
you say, because not every single joke you say is super high energy. So when it's the little subtle thing and it gets a laugh, you're like, whoa, that could be. It's fun. It's exciting. I'm saying just like you were talking about writing. That's what I obsess about. Is like if I rearrange because every funny line that's out there. There are 20 unfunny ways to say that. There, you know what I mean? But then when you finally unlock um, and I could tell you do that just by I've only heard your stuff a couple times, and I know like the migrant worker, that's a perfect joke. It's like there's a lot of ways to say that wrong, but you say blah blah blah. It's because you've been calling them the wrong thing or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't exactly know the punchline, but it's like yeah, that's something where you had to it's funny, but how do I phrase it? And it's a
Yeah.
puzzle. It's such a fun
You don't,
puzzle.
what helps too is especially in that case, like I have a buddy who used to do comedy. He lives in California now, and I will send him my sets all the time. Like I record myself and
Mm-hmm.
send it. He goes, and a lot of times it's just like, hey, yeah, that was cool, or I really like that new joke or whatever. But one time I asked him like, hey, can we write together? And he I'll give credit to him. Like he gave me that line,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, you know what, I do like. I'm gonna try it and figure it out because before that it was funny with what I was saying,
Yeah.
but now it's better and because just like you said, well, I hope comics hear it, maybe they'll help here or there.
Yeah.
No one's gonna offer advice unless you ask them, especially another comic, because no one's gonna assume that you want to change something. So if you go
Yeah.
up to someone and be like, hey, what'd you think about that, they might say, oh yeah, it was good. It's like, I'm trying to change it or whatever. If you think of something else, let me know. And that's kind of what me and my friend do is like, I'll send them some stuff and we'll write and talk about it or whatever and go from there. But it just those tiny lines, like you said. Sometimes you don't know if it's going to work, and sometimes it does. And or sometimes the best laugh is when you say something that you're just like filling time to get to the next joke, and they laugh at that thing too. You're like, oh, I that wasn't even a joke, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That feels good. Yeah. At the Crumbly Cup, that was my first time experience like loud. Uh, no offense to whoever was there, but some people were really, really loud up front.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, and I'm like, I have no aspirations to be like the crowd work guy, but I said something and it got a laugh and it was like pretty mean. But you're like, whoa, I think I can like, handle a heckler or a loud person or whatever. And yeah, it is funny when you don't expect it yourself. But yeah, I don't know if you've met like Nate McClellan at these
Mm-mm,
open mics, Nate.
no.
But yeah, he's him and I will send each other stuff, and I've always wanted someone to be able to do that with. Like he'll be at work and just do like a 2 minute like. So I was thinking of my grandpa, and he'll just send me it, and I'll be like, oh, that's funny, dude. I got to send him more than he sends me. I still feel like a coward with that, but yeah, it's fun to just bounce ideas off. And because I don't know about you, but that's what I got out of the comedy class is whenever another person's on stage, I'm always thinking of tags and always
Yeah.
thinking of like, oh, what they could do there. But you just come off as a jerk if you're not close. You know what I mean? If I go up to, Emily from Tuesday or whatever, I'm like, great joke. You know what you got to do? And it's like,
Yes.
oh my God, but it's like you can't help wanting to. It was so fun in the comedy class too. It's most of us. It's our first time on stage ever. We all go up there for like 10 minutes at a time and just kind of like ramble. And then this guy Bill like yells at us. He's like, "Get to the point! Come on, we got to laugh!" Like it's great practice. It's awesome. But then afterwards, it's a bunch of like, you know what you could say there, and then to give someone a line and then they use it at the showcase show and it
Yeah.
gets a laugh
Yeah.
and you're like, I gave him that. Yeah, it's so fun. It's like it is a puzzle.
And
Because
they're also like, to me too, that like it's happened a few times, and there's also no feeling of like you're excited. You're still excited. You're not like, oh man, I should have used that line or whatever. Because you wrote it, it's still got to laugh. Like it got to laugh, and that's ultimately the goal. So no matter who says it, like who's a part of it or whatever, that line that was created out of this group or this couple or whatever still got to laugh, and
yeah.
that's the ultimate. Was what you want
Oh
anyway.
yeah. It's never a line you would want to keep yourself anyway,
Yeah.
because uh yeah. Yeah, it's not something it's not a premise you would have come up with anyway. But if you think of a funny line, it's fun to yeah. But I still haven't gone up to too many people after these open mics and said, hey, you know what you could say? But I know that's how my brain is always thinking. Like, what
Yeah.
else could or what else could they relate this to or whatever. But
hopefully you do that when you listen to your sets.
Yeah.
Like what can I do here?
It's hard, man, because you'll like write a bit and you'll have like 3 funny lines in it. And you're like, that bit's done. And you're like, that's not how it works. It's like
No.
this, if it's good, how can this thing be a bigger,
Yeah.
better? Because then you watch the greats and you're like, oh man, they're doing a 5 minute bit and it's something that started off as a little 30-second nugget. And you're like, how do they, it's the puzzle piecing it together.
Well, that I really want to like do more with Speedy Gonzalez. And like I told my buddy and I even told my wife, I was like, I want to make this more. I don't know what it is yet, but I know I want to make it more, because right now it's just like this little thing that I mentioned, and trying to make it more. And I think that's what you're speaking about, is like, yeah, this is all great, but let's build on this and make it better.
Yeah, it's because it's always about just coming at it with a different angle. You know what I mean? So it's like, and yours was used to Speedy Gonzalez, and then it was his brother. What was his brother?
His cousin. His name was Slowpoke Rodriguez.
Yeah, is that true?
It is very true. Yeah, it is very true.
Oh, see, yeah.
So the first time
it's true.
Yes, I did. I think so. I'd have to listen back. Yeah. The very first time I did that, I said did the same thing I did there. I go, does anybody know what his cousin's name? And there was about 10 people in the audience the first time. It was like, it said his name. I was like, yes, okay, you get it.
No way. You could be like, this is a cheap, but then he also had a black cousin. Did you guys know his name? And I'd be like, he didn't. I just wanted to see if you guys would yell the N-word or something. I don't know. Just again, that's just first thing my brain thought.
No.
He also had a black cousin. Anybody? Nah, I'm just wanted to see what you guys would yell.
They're only racist towards Mexicans, so you guys are. No, my buddy just sent me a clip from Louis C.K. He was doing an interview and he was talking about he was talking about specials, and he's like, to me, specials, they're called specials because they live forever and they got to be really good. They're going to be out there for forever. And he said it's kind of like when they make samurai swords, they have the metal, they hit it, they fold it again and hit it again, and they do that a bunch of times to harden the metal and to make it really good. He goes, it's the same thing with comedy. You can have a really good closing 20 minutes, but if you start and you have a good starting 20 minutes and then the middle's like, I know I got a really good end 20, I'm just going to coast through here, then everything's not going to be really good. He goes, sometimes I will take my best 20 minutes and put it at the front, because now I know, like, all right, no, I don't have anything to fall back on, and I got to build upon that. He goes, after you do that so many times, you have so many closing bits, your special is just full of closing bits because you're just constantly moving things around and making sure you're uncomfortable.
Yeah. And he's not, I've seen that video too. You seem like a nerd, just like I am. Like I see a video like that and I just save it, and I've watched that a few times. Like it's, and he's not lying about that, because you watch his stuff and it's like he's one of the first guys to really put out so much funny stuff, year after year after year, and then he's crazy. I get jealous of him. Like, how can you come up with all this? But
well, the clips I see him, the clips I see of him now is him just reading out of the Bible, and he has bits out of things that he found in the Bible, and that's really? Are his bits. Yeah, there's parts that I've seen. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
If I see one, I'll send it to you. But yeah, it's he just like, hey, I don't know, I don't remember any of it, but he will flip to a page which, like, I'm sure he has gone through the Bible and found things that he thought could be funny and built upon it, and he'll go and read the verse and then go from there. Yeah.
It's crazy too. It's like, I hear you say that, and then I get nervous as someone who has my Bible bits, and I'm like, oh no, Louis better not. I might have to. Do you have his number? I might have to text him. Hey, don't talk about Leviticus. Now, I don't know if your brain does that too. You hear a comedian be like, "Ice cream's crazy," and you're like, "This better not be my ice cream joke." You thief. But
that happened. That happened to Comedy Night. Sorry, I cut you off. But
no.
That happened on the Crumbly Cup night, where somebody, I knew my first bit was gonna be me about me being Mexican, and then someone else started talking about that. I'm like, fuck. I was like, I don't want to, but it was like 10 seconds of his minute. I was like, okay, I think I'll be good. But I was prepared to change it, because I did not want to do another minute of Mexican comedy, even though I think it's funny. I didn't want to like hop on that, and I was just going to switch a couple things around and then get to it later if I made it later. But
Yeah.
yeah, that it's especially things like that, or that's never happened to me before. Where at the Casual Pint there was 3 Mexican comics. That's and
Yeah.
it's never happened where we all like were talked about that, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, there wasn't too much overlap. Uh, yeah, it's true what I forgot what we got started on, but no, yeah. So you get that feeling of like you don't want anybody to talk. You're like, why don't you guys all just talk about pianos, just so I can talk about
yeah,
marriage? No one better
especially yeah.
talk about marriage, otherwise, you know. But I have you ever experienced? Because I've been jotting ideas down for like my whole life, and so it does happen. Have you ever been watching a TV show or stand up or anything and been like, "That's literally my line"?
Then you're
I don't
done.
know.
You can't do it.
Yeah. Do you have
Because
any?
I can't remember
Okay.
specifically. One thing I do remember is um my buddy who his name's George. He would help me in. I think he had a bit about like yeah, he had a bit about somebody um in movies or whatever when there's an explosion they like turn their back to it and they just walk away like all cool or whatever, and
Hmm.
he had a bit about that, and then I think it ended up in like SNL or Andy Samberg did a Lonely
Yeah.
Island video about it or something, and it had like he was like,
Yeah.
well, I guess that's done.
Yeah. That's integrity, though, to see that it's out there and go, all right, I'm not going to do it. You know. Um, yeah.
He'll text
That's
me when he's
that.
listening. He listens to the podcast. He'll text me and tell me exactly what it was, but it's something like that. But you're right. Like then, all right. Well, he got it on
Yeah.
TV first, then I guess that's it.
My most recent one was Mark Normand, of course, because that dude writes. It seems like he writes 1,000 jokes a day, just his type of
Yeah.
comedy. But
Yes.
I'm like, I hope I'm the only one. But I years ago, kind of realized I was like, gingers should get more upset. No, nobody gets mad when they get called a ginger, but that's literally the N word rearranged. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm a comic genius. And then, of course, Mark Normand of all comics is gonna. He said it on a maybe his recent special or something like that. But these
Okay.
comics, they put out so much stuff that it's like but it really does make you get more autobiographical. It's like, okay, let
Yes.
me talk about being a math teacher and being about a dumb dad who loses his keys because only I can write that, you know. But if I do just stick to like wordplay, when in and stuff like that, it's like someone else will beat me to it.
Mhm.
It's gonna happen. But uh, I mean, I wasn't married to that ginger idea, but I was like, if I
This is sweet. How can I use
yeah.
this? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those like if I'm telling a bit about whatever racism or something, that's a
Yeah.
funny thing to throw in there. But you're like, oh darn, Mark Normand, of course.
And
Uh,
he said like he can't just sit and listen and talk normal. He has to like there's always puns or bits or something where
I
like
know.
something's
Yeah,
funny. It has to come
yeah,
out of his mouth. I think there's a podcast where
yeah,
they're giving him shit for that. Like you
yeah,
can't just everything doesn't have to be a pun. Just sit here and talk.
yeah, yeah. Walkie talkie. Yeah, he'll just always comedy. He's always uh,
Comedy.
some of them he knows are just bad, but
Yeah. Yeah.
some of them will break. Like I'll watch every podcast where it's like him, Ari, Shane Gillis, Joe Rogan,
Mm.
where they get together. Protect our parks is what they call
Oh,
it for some reason, but it's just them getting hammered for 5 hours and talking. But it's Mark Norman always has
that might have been in that one
some
where
puns.
they're like, just not don't do that.
Yeah, it's funny though, but that's how his brain's always thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's fun to see him. All those. You know, I get like proud of like all these comedians right now that are crushed. I really feel like we're at like the golden age of comedy, like where
Yeah.
you see like one of my favorites of all time is Nate Bargatze. I've been
Mhm.
into him for like so long, and his comedy teacher, like just a week ago, like the guy who taught him his first ever comedy class in Chicago, he was like, "Hey, look at this old gem I found," and it was Nate Bargatze's first set ever. It was
Oh,
his showcase set,
yeah.
and I watched it like 2 times in a row. I was like, I just love the magic of like I'm watching Nate Bargatze mess up jokes,
Yeah.
mess up a couple words, but you like see like I don't know, it's Yeah, it's real
It,
inspiring to see that kind of stuff. You're like, dude, they're all just regular people who
mhm.
just kept at it. And uh, yeah, like Mark Norman, I can only imagine him in the beginning being really, really just all about maybe wordplay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then now he's like, no, now he's got these solid bits.
And
All
it's
yeah,
and that's the hard part for me is like I like doing it. It's fun, and I'm not expecting to like be famous or whatever. Like right now to me it's fun. I can wedge it in every once in a while. I have a full-time job. I got two kids.
yeah,
I coach a softball team. I help with my son's baseball team. I'm a varsity football coach. Like all these things, like where does comedy fall in? Well, it falls in here during football season. I'm not going to do any of it. I just don't have
yeah.
time, So like it just shoehorns in here whenever it can, just because it's fun for me. And if I can, over the years, if I can develop enough time to get paid or whatever. I got paid one time. I got paid $100 to do 20 minutes. This is when I first did it, and I loved it.
Nice.
Like this is awesome. This is the
That's
pinnacle.
awesome.
This is the pinnacle of my comedy career, and I'll forever be grateful for
Yes.
that opportunity. So just trying to wedge it in there whenever I can and not get in trouble. So
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially when you're our age, it's like if I can. Yeah, it's just yeah, it's a hobby that I love. That like I've always wanted to be like, can I get good at this thing? And then yeah, to get good enough where it's like, hey, do you want to open for this person? Or it's like to
yeah,
me, that's like that'd be so sick.
yeah,
To just do a show. I'm not even thinking about money or anything like that. But it's like, oh, I think I'm starting to figure this thing out and get okay at it, and it's really fun. And just meeting everyone. You see the same people
oh
all the
yeah.
time, and they all have that same thing where they write jokes and try them out into a microphone. They're psycho for that. Like you're like, who's doing that? Like
and every
it's
once in a while you meet someone or they remember a joke or whatever, and that's cool. Actually, it was we were just talking about uh that other Mexican comedian that you just mentioned.
Roberto.
Yeah, Roberto. So when I saw him there, I introduced myself. He goes, we've met each other. I go, oh, I'm sorry, man. He goes, yeah, it was a while ago though. He goes, you have this joke. My wife still brings it up. I go, really? He's like, yeah.
Nice.
I used to do this joke about spelling words because when you're a parent, as you're well aware, I'm sure you spell words so your kids don't understand what you're saying. Um, and so I like, and I said sometimes it doesn't work out right, and my kids were afraid of spiders, and my wife said, hey, are there any sp-iders? And my kids kind of figured that out, and that's what he told me. He goes, yeah, the one where you say sp-iders. I'm like, holy shit, that was so long ago, but I'm glad there's someone out
Yeah,
there that liked it.
that's a great that's a great feeling.
Yeah,
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 because it for anyone to remember anything you said, because anytime somebody has seen you, they probably saw 12 other people that night. It's like uh that feels good. Yeah,
yeah,
that
it
makes
was
me
pretty
want to
cool.
like be more complimenting. And I feel like I always do try to be that guy at these open mics, like, dude, you killed it. Like that was great. Like I love because I know how much that means to me if someone's, you know,
Yeah.
if you put down a mic and walk away and nobody says anything, you're like, all right, it's over.
have you
I
done
gave it
have
a
you done
try.
open mics yet where it's just the comics and no one's at the open mic?
The smallest one I've done, so like Wendy Kaiser knows the owner of Five Pints, and they let us do that like 2 or 3 times a month.
Yeah,
We just go in the back room, and so maybe one time there was like 9 people total, and I
yeah.
think it was five of us. It would have been like me, Nate, Wendy, four of us, and Dave Crumbly. So there's like four comics, 5 people there. So it's like kind of weird.
Yeah, I've done. So when I first did it, I think comedy was probably on the up, but it hadn't quite got there yet. So
Yeah,
I would do a show at a cigar bar, and it was always
yeah,
these two dudes and then the comics, and
yeah,
and then I did a show. There used to be one. I forget. It was there used to be one in a hookah bar on Adam Street, which was usually pretty well attended. But that was when I didn't get home till
yeah.
like midnight.
Oh,
But those guys, Anthony Martinez, he doesn't do comedy anymore, but he was really funny. And Mike Czar, who I don't even know if he does comedy anymore, but they ran that. But there was one. I can't remember the name of the bar. Going into it, you knew it was only going to be comics. There was never been anybody else
yeah,
there. It was just comics, and
yeah.
to me, if you can if I can make one of my comic friends laugh, then I'll be happy with that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been realizing too lately is like you kind of keep your eye on them. You're like, if the comics laugh, that's a nice badge of honor. That feels really good. But yeah, when it's all comics and like, yo, we're all gonna do sets we've all heard before. Like, you know what I mean? I've only been doing this a few months, but I still could go like, and Victor is a bit about this, and Lorenzo is a bit about this, and Robert, because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I feel like I could write more songs than I could bits. Honestly, like bits are, you can't just sit down on a computer and be like, what's funny? You're like, Donald Trump's hair is
Got it.
crazy. Yeah,
Nailed
got
it.
it. And then grab him like, what's with Trump?
And open mics are, like you said, they're practice, and you could have a whole 5 minutes, and then you're like, all right, well, the next open mic, I'm gonna do the same 5 minutes, but I'm changing 30 seconds of it. Well, again, that's it's your practice, but if those comics hear the same bits and they don't notice that 30 seconds, well, then maybe it wasn't impactful, or maybe they did notice, like, oh, I just heard you do that set last week, and I like your changes that you made, or whatever,
Yeah. And also, nobody cares if they're hearing repeats. When I first got into this, I thought like, wait, those same comics will be there, so I can't say this thing about my dog again. It's like, no, dude, we're all. And then I get up there, I see them do like such a similar set to what they did. I'm like, oh, even these veteran comics are repeating stuff. It's like, yeah, that's you're working on jokes. You're trying to make them better. For me, once something gets a laugh, I'm like, check, that gets a laugh. I want to move on to the new stuff, just because, again, I don't know, if you can only do it 3 or 4 times a month. For me, it's like I better try as much stuff, but it's so risky that I'm nervous all day. Like,
me too.
Yeah, because I'm not because of the crowd, just because the new material. Like, what if I come off? I don't know. I did a Ramadan thing at the last one, and I'm like, you just don't want. It's like, dude, if I'm Middle Eastern, then this joke kills. But it's like I have to present it in a way that doesn't make me. It went well.
Yeah.
Because of how I said, like, how I'm a teacher and the Muslim kids during Ramadan get to go to the library. I think that's great. And like the whole premise is like that was not happening in my post 9/11 high school, And then I get to say all this crazy stuff, right? But it's like you can't say all this racist stuff until right? Because I'm acting like a conservative teacher in 2002 versus and then it's like, well, we're gonna let them meet in the library and all that stuff. But you're afraid that you're gonna come off as, or like you don't really know until you've done something a few times. Sometimes you'll do like, all right, this is my best joke ever, and then you do it for like only 2 times have I experienced, like even at the Casual Pint one time, it was this crowd like this.
Yeah.
I'm watching like Rachel Lee, Victor, Dave Crumbly, like get these kind of audiences too. And I was like, okay, something's wrong. Not that none of them got like everybody was getting some, but it was just so weird. Like maybe they were all on fentanyl or something like that. Like, what's happening? Then you say your best line ever, and you want to just say after that, like, hey, that is funny. Just so you guys know, that is funny. You just want to show your YouTube video. Like, this was in Royal Oak, Michigan.
Yeah. They laughed.
I promise you it's funny. Yeah. And you probably experienced that too with lines you have that know are funny. And then it's just someone's had too many Coors Lights or something and they're not really paying attention. You're like, can you wake up, man?
Yeah. I had friends who asked if I get nervous or whatever. I was like, yeah, I'm always nervous. But as soon as I go up there, I know what I'm going to say. So I'm less nervous, because I start talking, but I enjoy public speaking. Like I really like public speaking. Being a football coach, like I like pregame speeches were always my thing when I used to be a head freshman football coach. I'm a varsity assistant now. So I used to give pregame speeches when I was a freshman coach. Like I like all these things and motivational speeches and that kind of stuff. And actually just had a talk at one of my friends' moms passed away, and they asked if I wanted to say something at the funeral. So I was nervous about that too. And but once you get up there and I know what I'm going to say, then it's all good. But it's every time I speak, it's leading up to it is nerve wracking and until I get up there. But I do enjoy it. I like doing it.
Yeah. Oh, so I don't have that. So what do you coach?
I coach for Perrysburg. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. I observed the head coach's classroom this past school year, I think. Who's the head Perrysburg?
Dirk Connor.
He teaches some geometry. Coach. He teaches some. Yeah. I went in there. Yeah, interesting. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
But no, I that's not me. I really am pretty introvert. I don't think I could like get a team and be like, guys, tonight we gotta, especially since I wasn't a football guy, but that's
Uh,
fun. So you get some practice and you get some, that's cathartic. That's cool.
dude, but
You get
I
that.
do stress about that because so right now I'm a tight ends coach and I get about 20 seconds on Friday nights when we do our pregame stuff. I have the tight ends, we run our little drills, and then I get about 20 seconds to like pump them up a little bit more. Which through the season, through as the games go on, you learn what they like and what they don't like as far as like how you interact. So unfortunately for me, the defense goes first, and the defensive line coach, which where most of my tight ends come from, they also play defensive line.
Mhm.
He used to be a head coach at Genoa. He is super animated, like all
Yeah.
excited, this and that or whatever. And then they
Yeah.
come to me, which
Ooh.
I am not that way.
Yeah.
And we'll do our drills or whatever, and I'll start talking and I'll say my thing, and then they go, and I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, all right, here's what I got to prepare next week or whatever, and you know,
Yeah, yeah,
so
you're tweaking it.
yeah, so I learn like what they like, and they like that he does that. They don't like when I do it because it's forced that I'm not that excitable. So I gotta use my words more than anything, and they appreciate
Yeah.
that. Like even
Yeah.
if it's simple as like I think throughout the season, one of the times one of my tight ends said, like, yeah, we're gonna something about like we're gonna cut their fucking heads off or something like that, you know, and so then after every speech I would point to him like and then what, and then he would say it and they liked that, and
Yeah.
then like
Yeah.
our playoff game against Whitmer, actually our playoff game, I said it and they lost their minds.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I
Oh, that's
was like, no, don't go
awesome.
tell your parents.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
That's
It's fun
fun.
learning. It's fun learning that stuff.
Any type of communication is a fun yeah, it
Well,
is fun.
Well,
Yeah, it
I would
nice
imagine
release.
similar to you in a classroom. Like if you can, like if you're talking, I'm sure there's some classes that come in and you're like, all right, by this point, you're like, all right, this is a class I really got to stay on top of because if one person starts talking, they're all going to start talking. Or this class, we can all chit chat because they still get their work done. Or like just learning
Yep.
each class and how you interact with them. And some you can joke with, and some
Mhm.
you can't. It's just based on what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, especially as someone who teaches mostly freshmen. Like this year, I've got two classes that are just like really great for freshman class, and then two where like most of the kids in the class are pretty careless and like don't want to work. And so it's like you with like two of my periods, it's like, yo, I can say a joke here and there, we can laugh and
Yeah.
then come back. And then the other ones, it's like it's might not even be worth it to be the funny guy here.
Yeah.
But a big part of teaching, like not everyone agrees with it, but I've learned that like with teenagers at least, like if they like you, they'll pay attention. Like, and that's
Yep.
what's tough. And I think most of the people I work with are great, and like we got great teachers at our school and everything like that. But that's always been my thing because I'm not huge, I'm not scary. So it's like you're gonna like me, and you're gonna like how I help you, and you're gonna like, we're gonna have, we'll be funny and stuff like that. But I feel like that's why. What's up, dog? Um, hey, Calvin. See, this guy likes me.
Well, you like you said, you got to you're there to teach them the information, and hopefully you have fun doing it. And sometimes you don't have fun because of how the classroom is, and this is just all right. Well, we're not gonna for the next 45 minutes. I'm not gonna have the best day, the best time, but I'm gonna do my job. I'm gonna get them the whatever I'm teaching them. They're gonna learn, and math
yeah.
is hard too because math is terrible and no one likes it. So
Yeah.
I was terrible at math.
Yeah.
I like geometry.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I like geometry. Um,
Oh,
algebra 2, I I'm pretty
it's
sure I got
point.
some I'm pretty sure I got some help in passing the class.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was it's hard. I didn't like it because it was difficult.
Yeah.
And
Man, that's the hard, yeah, about teaching math is you have, but by high school, it's like some kids are good at math and some kids aren't. However, what I'll say is I love when my kids who like really are weak in math, when they get like an A or a B in my class, because it's like that kid just worked so hard.
yeah. Yeah.
If you're good at math, you really don't have to try that hard. Like the homework's gonna take you 5 minutes, studying for
Yep.
the test. Okay, I know this. You're gonna get an A on the test, and you're just lucky. It's like being 7 feet tall and being that guy in playing in middle school or something. Like
Oh yeah.
you're gonna score, man. You're gonna score. But Yeah, that's what's crazy is like on the first week of school, you get to know which kids like are gonna probably fail because you're like they don't really understand like addition and subtraction, and you're like whoa, but it it goes back to being a kid and those fundamental years that if you didn't really grasp things early on, it's like now you gotta understand graphing a parabola. Like that's not gonna. It's just not gonna make too much sense if the basics aren't there. But
yeah. Well, I'm glad both my children right now are really good at math. So as long as we can keep that track, then because I cannot help them. That'll be their mom.
yeah.
History, English, I'm all there, but not that. Yeah. But we're a little over an hour. I told you an hour, so I won't keep you longer. Yeah. I know you got plenty of green beer to drink, so I'll let you get to that.
Yeah.
See, I started it by saying I wouldn't say a shitty Irish joke, and then I ended it by saying one anyway. So.
Yeah. You want to end with a kiss? Kiss me, I'm Irish, and then we both pucker up to the camera. And my dog's got a shamrock bandana thing on right now. Well, no, this is super fun. Sorry if it was too scattered. I don't know.
No, this is exactly what they are. This is
okay.
Actually, these are more what I like. A lot of times, a lot of new guests will come on and I like go through their life. But if we never get there, we never get there. Like usually I say, where'd you grow up? How'd you become a teacher? Blah, 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 all this stuff. Yeah. But like, we just started talking and this is perfect. No, this is great. I appreciate you coming on, especially for some stranger just handing you a business card saying, hey, come on my podcast. So
yeah, man. This is very fun. Keep in touch and I'm sure I'm going to see you around.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Thanks, Ed.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks again to my guest, Ed McCarthy, for coming on the podcast. I met him a few weeks ago at a comedy competition, and that's why we talked a lot about comedy, because that's what we both are doing right now. Music was cool. Whenever I can find someone to talk about emo music with, that's always fun. I feel like there isn't a lot of people that are into that. And then when high school students ask me what kind of music I like, and I tell them, they don't even know what I'm talking about. So it was cool to go through all that and reminisce about old songs and that kind of stuff. So again, appreciate Ed for coming on the podcast. Thanks to all of you for listening, downloading, sharing, subscribing to this podcast. It's going great. I'm really enjoying myself as we get closer to, I guess the next milestone will be 250. I think this is 221. So we're getting up there. It's fun. Appreciate all of you. And keep doing what you're doing. Again, hit us up at the nerdballpodcast@gmail.com if you want to come on the podcast or any social media. Just search the Nerdball Podcast. As always, thanks to Real JP Multimedia, Cuttlefish Graphics, Perrysburg Junior High STEM Lab, and Big Daddy Graphics for always helping out the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.